So in most parts of the United States, the typical real estate deal costs 6%. The way that would actually be done is the listing or selling agent would charge 6%, and then as part of the deal, they would agree that 3% of that is going to the buying agent. To do a real estate deal might cost 10 or even more percent of your annual income just to buy and sell houses. This is not a law of nature. So for instance, in the United Kingdom, a typical deal will happen at 1.5 or 2% of the purchase price of the house. So it could be much, much, much lower than it is today. This is what we're going to call a brokered industry, that there are buyer agents and seller agents, and they need to work with each other to consummate a transaction. What that means is that if you try as an agent to cut prices, to offer a better deal for consumers, you can do that, but other agents might not work with you as readily if you do that. So Redfin famously tried to enter the real estate agency business and was like, we're gonna cut prices and we're gonna get tons of consumers and we're gonna be the Uber of real estate agency. And today they have about 1% of the market nationwide. It was very easy for real estate agents to enforce these very high prices because if you tried to cut prices, other real estate agents on the other side would not work with you. One of the papers was about steering. If you offer buyer agents 2.5% instead of 3%, buyer agents would typically steer clients away from your house to a house where they actually get paid their 3%. So we found that this has a big effect on how long and whether or not you sell your house. That real estate agents that even undercut the typical buyer agency commission just a little bit took, say, 15% or 20% longer to sell. So you really undercut the usual rates, you could take as long as 33% longer to sell. You might say, well, okay, it took you a little longer to sell. Is that really a big deal? But of course it is for a lot of families. They need to both sell a house and then buy a house all within the same summer, because that's when most real estate transactions happen. These time frames matter. And in fact, we found that something like 90% of houses were sold at the going rate commission for buyer agents. Perhaps more concerning was the fact that if you didn't offer a going rate commission, your house was much more likely to not sell at all, which can be a financial disaster for many families. So this highly incentivized sellers to go ahead and offer these very high compensations for buyer agents. If you're a buyer agent and you want to steer your clients to houses where you get paid your 3%, well, you got to know which houses those are. So the MLS cannot contain the commission rate, but there is still a commission rate. You can post it on your website. You can tell all of your friend agents. Everyone's still gonna find out what the commission rate is for a given house. It's just gonna take 5 minutes of work or whatever. This provision of the settlement seems to be almost purely window dressing. Our favorite proposal is actually from the Department of Justice. It's called decoupling. Buyers would simply negotiate how much they pay their agent with their agent, and sellers would negotiate how much they pay their agent with their agent. And you would no longer have this issue of steering, because a buyer agent would be getting paid based on what the buyer promised them instead of what the seller promised them. You may want to treat negotiating over your real estate agency representation think of it as like negotiating when you're buying a car. You don't simply take the sticker price as a given. You instead negotiate with the car salesman to reduce that price. You absolutely should, really dig deep when talking to your buyer agent about how much your buyer agent is going to get paid. And if they want to leave that open-ended and depending on what the seller is offering, you should be very wary of signing that kind of deal.